Deciding to change course could help you avoid a huge challenge or might make you miss out on an opportunity. Deciding whether or not to do that can make a significant difference in the pathway that you choose. So we're going to discuss changing course, when to do it, and more on this episode of Today's Antidote.
Stay tuned for Today's Antidote, brought to you by the Renegade Success Network. Today's Antidote features a healthy dose of thought-provoking insights and information for business owners, entrepreneurs, leaders, and nonprofit professionals. Each day since March of 2020, this program has offered that one thing to help you continue on your own unique pathway to success. And now, Renegades, we bring you Bob Graham and Tom Brush.
Hey, Tom. Good morning. And I should say Tom and the Crickets, a new musical group. You sing and they do the cricket sounds in the background.
It's been a long time since the Crickets have had an impact on our show. I'm not really sure what.
It's been about a year, I think.
Probably. Maybe it's just this time of year that they are finding their way to make an appearance.
On their own unique pathway towards success?
Or in their own unique pathway to something.
In your basement.
Yes. My office.
Your office. Nice.
Yes,
so how are you?
I'm well. How about you this morning? How are
I'm
you
good. I'm good. I'm excited.
You're excited?
Yeah, it's a Wednesday. I'm excited. Doing lots of fun stuff these days. So I'm excited. Meeting new people, making new connections, all that good stuff that energizes me, the extrovert that I am.
Excellent. All right. Well, good morning, everyone else. Hopefully you're doing as well as Bob today. And welcome to Today's Antidote, our daily broadcast and podcast, where each day we have a conversation around a topic, the topic that we choose for the week. This week's topic is changing course. And we'll have a conversation around that and share our thoughts and ideas. And we welcome you to share your thoughts and ideas as we go through our discussion. So you can please feel free to put them on the comments of whatever social media you happen to be following us on, whether it's Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, YouTube, or
LinkedIn Live, baby.
Yes, LinkedIn Live, because we know that the thoughts and ideas that you have will add value to our show and to those who happen to be paying attention. Then at the end of the conversation, Bob and I will each offer our one thing, our today's antidote, that thing that we hope will help you when you are stuck, figure out how to take your next step along your own unique pathway to success. And of course, if you have a one thing, an antidote you'd like to share, please feel free to put that in the comments as well. Now, before we start our conversation each morning, Bob and I share our celebrations as a way to kick off the day and get us prepared and in the correct mindset to help us move forward and share what we have to share. So, Bob, what are you celebrating today?
I am celebrating oat milk ice cream. More specifically, s'mores flavored oat milk ice cream.
Wow.
Yes, it is very, very good. It almost makes me happy that I can't eat dairy, which is saying a lot. But it is a new obsession of mine. It is wickedly expensive compared to Turkey Hill ice cream or some of the other brands. But, you got to bring it sometimes.
Sometimes the extra expense is worth it.
That's it. How about you? What are you celebrating?
So I'm celebrating that yesterday, and then again this morning, I'm part of a group a group of women's lacrosse officials.
Oh, I thought this was your other group.
Oh, no.
Your
women's
cool
lacrosse
group.
Officials who will help over the course of the next probably 6 months or so, help educate and train officials on the new rules and the old rules as well. And so I'm part of the women's high school lacrosse training committee. And so over the yesterday afternoon and today, we'll be working on different information and techniques and presentations and data content to share with officials between now and the start of the lacrosse season in the spring. So nice. I'm excited about what we did yesterday and looking forward to doing more today.
Sounds like fun and a great way to give back.
It is. And I'll tell you the other thing, it's a great way to learn more. Like one of the things I really enjoy about officiating is the conversations we have around situations and rules and things that happen. And so this is just another example of that opportunity, and so the thought processes that people go through and how one person's perspective might be a little bit different than someone else's. And, how do we share that so that we impact what's real for all of us?
Nice. Oh, that sounds like fun. And that's this morning or all day?
We'll probably wrap up just about in time, I believe, for our check-in and check-up this afternoon.
Okay, that's right. If you're part of the Renegade Success Network right now, we have a check-in, check-up every Wednesday at 1 p.m. Eastern time where people in that group come together and they share what's going on. It literally is, so what are you working on this week, Bob? Well, I'm here. What do you need help with? What are you looking at for the rest of the week? It's a great way to ground yourself in the middle of the week. It's one of the things that, though I don't make them all because I had some conflicts at that time, when I did make them, I found like they really helped me see how much I had accomplished in the week and also set up what I needed to accomplish along with the accountability of other people, which I like that. And we've gotten to know each other on a far deeper level, which is, I found myself several times sharing really personal stuff that was going on in my life with this group of people that care deeply. So if that's something you're interested in, hey, Tom and I are here to talk to you about that. You can let us know. We'll talk to you about the Renegade Success Network. And what's that one going to be very shortly, Tom? RSN Plus, right?
RSN Plus, yes.
RSN Plus.
You're giving away all of our things that we're going to announce here probably early next week. So,
well, you got to give people who pay attention, the preview.
Tease them a little bit. I would agree. And I think what your second point about, it's really about strengthening your network and getting to know people on a different level to the point where I would recommend the group of people to anybody, to anybody.
I have.
As have I. And I
think one's a lawyer. I've had that person do some legal work for me. So not only have I recommended him to others, I've used him myself. And the other person I've recommended to a number of people, and she's actually convinced me for the most part that I want to go on a river cruise, which I never in a million years would have thought.
Yeah, that's great. So I think that's one of the differences between building a network and networking. So if you have interest in that, please feel free to reach out to us. I'm sure Bob at some point will put the link in the chat, or you can just go to renegadesuccessnetwork.com and you can get more information there. All right. So let's dive into our topic. Let's change course a little bit and talk about changing course and when to do it. I think this is a really fascinating discussion. So I'm looking forward to what your thoughts and ideas are.
So I really thought about this for, as I always do, Tom, 4 to 6 seconds before the start of the program. But my immediate thought was sooner than I almost always change course. If there were one thing that I could offer myself, if I could go back to young Bob, the whippersnapper, as my father used to call me, when I was in my 20s, I would tell myself, change course sooner. In so many things. I was always careful and conservative and cautious. And as I've gotten older, I've realized that whatever you do, however you shift, it takes you closer to where you want to be. Even if it takes you further away, you learn things that get you closer. It's like you almost have to take steps back to take big steps forward. And I can think of 3 or 4 instances in my life. One I'm going through right now where I really wish I had taken action a lot sooner. And, you can't do woulda, shoulda, coulda, but you can certainly going forward. I am much more prone to moving quicker now towards change and looking for the signals faster than ever. Now, maybe some of that's age and wisdom, but I think it's also realizing that nothing's fatal. I remember thinking that if I changed jobs, the whole world would come to an end if I didn't pick the right job. I changed the job. I was there for 6 months. It didn't work out. I was tired of it. They would have kept me forever. I found another job and they were like, okay, that makes sense. Yeah, we could see. no scar, no, oh, your resume is going to be messed up for the rest of your life. You'll never get another job. You'll never get credit. You'll never pay your bills. All those things that ran through my head. And as I've gotten older, I think the voices of don't get softer and the voices of do in terms of change have gotten louder. I also think I've surrounded myself with more people that are comfortable with change, comfortable with having the discussion. Someone like you that I think I could come to you tomorrow and say, hey, Tom, I'm thinking of taking a job in St. Louis, and this is what it would pay, and this is the situation. And I really think there might be something here. And you'd be like, okay, let's talk through it. Not, how could you and I've been working on this thing, blah, 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 blah. You know, you just rented a place. How could you do that? And I think having those people that can evaluate things more holistically and more about what's going on can really make that easier.
Interesting. I wasn't sure which way you were going to go on this. And I think that there's some interesting, lot of good things I think that you shared. You know, I think one of the things is you talked a little bit about that making change is likely going to get you somewhere quicker, or I get you closer to your success, closer to your success. And I think what's interesting about it is I think when you change course, you get closer to somewhere. It might not be exactly where you thought you were going to be, and I think that's a part of it. And at the same time, I'm always cautious a little bit that if we change course too soon, we may miss out on something that is just a few more steps in front of us if we were willing to take the time to figure it out. And so I think that it is, for me, it's a little more unclear that changing courses is quicker. It's interesting that you said that as you've gotten older, you've been more comfortable changing course, because I would imagine that for many people, that's not the case. When they feel like they have more responsibilities and they have more things that they have to keep an eye out on, that they change course less as they get older. So I think it's fascinating that you thought that as you've gotten older, you're more comfortable changing course.
Well, I think I was very risk averse growing up and at a younger age. Now, as I've gotten older, I'm much more comfortable with shifting those things and realizing that life is shorter than I think we realize. You know, if something isn't working, give it the time it's due. Like I wouldn't say to an employer, you know, oh, this person started Monday of this week, it's Wednesday, and they're not looking good, fire them. I'm not saying that. But I'm saying if you get to 85, 90 days and you start to feel like, hey, this isn't a fit, I would probably deal with it then. And in the past, I think I would have told someone, well, it takes 6 months to a year to really see if a person's going to fit in. And I also think I'd have a discussion with that person about, hey, how are you feeling this is going? Because one of the other things I've noticed is so often when changing course involves other people, everyone's thinking about changing course. It's just no one's saying it out loud. And when you bring it out, it's like, oh, did I lose you?
No, you went off screen.
I don't know what.
Your camera disappeared.
I do not know what happened. The lights went out and okay.
Wow. Maybe you lost power. Anyhow, keep talking because we can still hear you.
Okay. So I was saying, I think I've been in many situations where everyone around the table is saying, yeah, we probably should change. And yet they don't. Until someone brings up, and then all of a sudden everyone's like, yeah, I was thinking that. I was feeling that. I that makes sense to me. Why didn't, there I am. Okay. Sorry.
You're in the dark now.
I'm in a new bunker.
I see that.
And a disheveled new bunker. And apparently I don't know what I touched or didn't touch, but it caused everything to go literally haywire. So,
yeah.
Apologies.
Well, I think one of the things you brought up was, I think one of the challenges that I'm not sure people know when to do it. Like, what is the correct time to make that change? And I think because they haven't considered that up front. They haven't thought about, like, okay, what is the timeline that I'm willing to give to see, and what does success look like? I think that, when you hire a new person, you just like, oh man, we hired this amazing person. They're going to be awesome, great, blah, blah. And we'll never have any reason to ever evaluate that until their first year review comes in. And I think, some organizations do have like a 90-day check-in or a 45-day check-in or whatever it is. And I think that is at least established a timeline where we can say, okay, I'm going to measure where we're at this point and make a decision at that point. And then hopefully after that point, they say, okay, well, now that we've reached this point and we see these results, whatever they may be, knowing that they can change, we set the next timeline of when we'll check back in again. And I think that's one of the challenges that most organizations find themselves in is they're like, okay, we'll do your annual review. And we talked about this a few weeks ago. And we won't talk about it again until the next time that it comes around. And with all the things that could need to change course between at that point and the future time, by that point, it's like, okay, I guess we need to consider it, even though we might not really know what's going on. And I think that that's one of those things that makes it hard to decide when to change course, because we don't really give it thought up front. We're like, okay, I'm going to do this thing, whatever it might be. And usually we're thinking, here are all the great things that are possible when I do this thing. And so I don't even consider, well, what happens if it doesn't go as planned? To consider like, okay, well, when might I start to think about when am I going to change course? And I think that leads us to struggle with that decision of, oh man, maybe if I just give it 2 more weeks, or maybe if I just give it another day or 2 or whatever it is. And I don't think that we take the time to clearly lay out, this is how long I'm willing to give it. At that point, I'm going to measure it. And then I'm going to make the decision about what's the next length of time that I'm willing to, based on some of the information that I get. And and so I think that some of those thoughts help make it easier to not worry about, oh, do I need to change course now or today or yesterday, or we should have done it 3 days ago or 6 weeks ago, because we've already determined the timeline by which we're going to evaluate it, make a decision, and then move forward after that.
Wow.
Does that make any sense?
It makes perfect sense. I think I hit another button, didn't I?
No, you're fine.
Okay, there it is. Backing up. Look, I can do that.
You're changing course a lot this morning.
I'm changing course a lot. I'm learning a lot as I go. I think that all makes sense. I think it's a really interesting discussion. And if you are tracking with us, feel free to put in the comments when you know it's time to change course, or what the signals are to you, whether it's in a specific situation. I know at this point, and it's interesting to me in the workplace, we tend to think in terms of 45 days, 90 days, 180 days, and a full year. And we tend to make decisions in those cycles often. And I think that's the effort of employers to just drop a marker down, a milestone. And we see this in projects, right? I used to manage projects, and it'd be like, all right, we need to have these milestones. Milestones are another way to decide whether you're on course. If you have a project and you've got 4 milestones and you get to the second milestone and you're 3 weeks behind, it's time to change course. Good. And I think so we create these markers in work often. But I will tell you, as someone who works for myself, I don't have those markers. I don't build those markers very much in a way that it's easier in the workplace. Even the annual review, which I personally despise for a variety of reasons, but at least it's a marker that you can say, okay, you've been here 3 years. Let's have a discussion. Let's talk about your performance. And I think it's very fascinating, as I think about this morning, that we've had to create these in the workplace to manage processes and people in a way that I don't hear a lot of solopreneurs going, yeah, my milestone for the next 3 months is this. By third quarter, I'm going to get here. By fourth quarter, I'm going to be at this point. And you and I have done some work with people to really help figure out what those milestones can be.
Sure.
But
can I share a comment?
Absolutely.
I'm not sure who it's from, but they say I do a lot of what if questions of scenarios at least once a week. And that's been effective for them. So looks like they're doing some measuring at least once a week to understand, like, okay,
I like that.
If I did this, or if I did that, or I think it's a great, that's a great suggestion, because I think that so often we just don't determine how and when we're going to do it, and that becomes the challenge. So we're left with this uncertainty, and usually, as you mentioned earlier, a lot of judgment of, well, we were all thinking this. Oh, it's Mike Kittner, my friend Mike Kittner from SIO. Excellent. And I think that's, what I like about it is he has chosen a pathway to do that. And I think that helps define a lot of clarity around what to do next. And rather than leave it to chance or leave it to, oh, I'm feeling this way today, let me do this. Or I felt that way for the last 3 days. It means I have to do something different. And I think so often, sometimes our emotions can get wrapped up in how we're feeling, and we make decisions that may or may not be in our best interest. So, Bob, as we wrap things up,
I want to thank Mike for his contribution. That's got me thinking in new ways. So thank you for that, Mike. Really appreciate you writing that this morning. And happy that you're up early with us. Or maybe it's not early for you. Maybe it's midday for you.
No, he's in our time zone. So it's
okay. All right.
Could not be early. Could be up even earlier than this. So Bob, as you think about our topic today, what's your one thing?
I think my one thing is what I said earlier. I never really thought about how many markers we build into our into organizations to make sure that we check these things, that we do have times when we're evaluating our course to correct and not correct. And I had never really seen weekly meetings that way, or monthly meetings, or quarterly meetings, or annual meetings as a sort of a checkpoint. But that says to me how important it is to consider changing course, and that companies are reluctant to do it, so much so that they have to make this artificial thing built around time to make sure it's at least considered for, however long the weekly meeting is or the monthly meeting.
Sure. I like that. And I would say, I guess my answer, sorry, my answer to, when to do it in terms of changing course is it depends. Because I think it's going to be different for all of us. And I think the clearer we can get on how long we are willing to put in the time, effort, and energy in the direction that we're going, and be clear around that. It's like, okay, I'm going to start this. And, and we didn't really do this when we started this show. We just were like, okay, let's start doing this. And I think there is some value in at least saying, okay, we're going to do this for however long. We're committed to this. Okay, great. At that point, and hopefully even before that, we'll start to measure, how is it going? What might we do differently? We go back to those 3 questions that I ask myself all the time is what went well, what didn't go as planned, and what would I do differently? And I think that helps us try to make some decisions. And so I think that if we're starting out with a new endeavor, setting a timeline by which we are going to measure our progress towards success. And then we can determine based on that is like, okay, is it ready to completely change course? Is it time to just make a small modification? Or do we stay the course because we feel like we are getting closer and closer every day to where we want it to be? And I think that helps us hopefully spend less time worrying if you made the right decision or the correct decision, and more time figuring out how to take the steps that can get you closer and closer to where you thought you wanted to be.
I like that. That's nice. Hey, Tom, I'm going to do a little plug here for our Facebook group, the Ring of Renegades Facebook group, because we have a really interesting poll going on today. What gets in the way of change for you most often? Is it fear of failure, fear of success, fear of judgment, fear of being wrong? We're getting lots of responses to that. And I just love these polls because it gives you an insight into how you are compared to other people.
Yeah, it's interesting. I think it's interesting because I think that's a lot about changing course is when is the time to change.
Yep.
And I often think sometimes mine is because I saw that and I was trying to think about what my response would be. And the more I thought about it is mine is more around, have I given something enough time?
Oh,
And
well, just for you, Tom, because I know the leader of that poll, I will add that.
Excellent. Because I really none of the other answers really spoke to me. And there wasn't a way to add an answer. So anyhow, I think it's a great poll. I think it's great. I think if you, the other reason you might want to come to our Ring of Renegades Facebook group is you're listening to our podcast and you didn't notice all the things that were going on in Bob's background throughout this episode. And the challenge with the podcast is you have no place to comment. You have no one to really share your ideas with, except, as Bob says, the person on the treadmill next to you or in the car at the stoplight next to you as well. So you can always share your comments, thoughts, and ideas in our Ring of Renegades Facebook group. It's easy to join. Just go to Facebook, search for Ring of Renegades, and then just ask to join and tell us why you're a renegade, and you can become a part of our growing community where we are helping people figure out how to take their next step along their own unique pathway to success. And I think as we go through this conversation all week around changing course, you might find some real value, or you might share the value that somebody is desperately seeking to help them figure out when is the right time to change course for them. So we look forward to seeing you inside our Ring of Renegades Facebook group, or we'll see you tomorrow morning, 7 a.m. Eastern time for our next episode of Today's Antidote. Have a great day, everyone.
Hey, embrace the renegading you. Oh, and it's National Maryland Day. I live in Maryland. You live in Maryland. Celebrate Maryland if you live in Maryland.
And that's a national thing?
Yeah.
No, it's a Maryland thing.
No, it's not. It's that same group you're trying to get the Renegade Day to be with.
They randomly. So does every state have a national?
Over the course of the year, every state gets a day.
That's pretty weak. Getting less and less enamored, and maybe now starting to feel more and more grateful that our Renegade Day isn't a part of this crazy thing.
Double-barreled Tom Brush on a Wednesday morning.
Talk about being a renegade. All right, everybody. Go out and have a great day. We'll see you soon. Thanks for listening to today's Antidote, powered by the Renegade Success Network. The Renegade Success Network helps you confidently create your own unique pathway to success. To learn more about the Renegade Success Network and how you can take your next step, follow us on Twitter, connect on LinkedIn, or join the Ring of Renegades Facebook group. For full details on how you can join our community, go to renegadesuccessnetwork.com. Embrace the renegade in you.